Did you know the Young Turks have 18 different shows? Become a TYT member and get all of them. Click the link in the description box below.
The New York Times reports that Donald Trump's phone calls are apparently frequently eavesdropped on by both Russian and Chinese intelligence officials. And that is not due to their amazing ability to crack into these things. It is due to his unwillingness to do literally anything to stop it from happening. So let's walk through how this developed. American spy agencies had learned that China and Russia were eavesdropping on the president's cell phone calls. This is coming from both human sources inside foreign governments and intercepting communications between foreign officials. So they have their own sources in these countries. They have also discovered that information that was discussed on Donald Trump's phone calls is being talked about by officials inside of both of these countries. Officials say that the president has 2 official iPhones that have been altered by the NSA to limit their abilities and vulnerabilities. And he has a 3rd personal phone that's the same as any iPhone anybody has. Mr. Trump keeps the personal phone because unlike his other 2 phones, he can store his contacts in it. And that is convenient because who wants to have to write down a phone number? So who cares if Russia or China is listening in on talks about trade or foreign policy? It's convenient, and so he has been doing it. How did you guys react to this news breaking?
With a sigh. You know, I think 2 things happening here. One, what? And then also, it's just that his part of his, I would say half of his campaign was based on the fact that he said Hillary Clinton was so bad because of this stuff.
Oh my gosh, it's still half of his rallies. Still half of his rallies.
You're saying specifically the handling of materials.
Did you know about the emails?
Right.
Did you hear about those?
Did you in the phones?
Right.
She was doing the phone. We started digging into who had a personal phone. We started going back, multiple presidents. At Clinton Powell, did he tell her that it was okay?
Incidentally, how did he know about those phones and those emails? Oh, wait, it was reporting from the New York Times and the Washington Post, which he believed when they were
was false at that time.
Well, but he,
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You can just,
I guess they became false after.
It's just exactly what he's been able to do. Say something that is disprovable and ridiculous and then do it himself. And it's just the people who follow him don't care.
And then he goes and says fake news. And I gotta say, first of all, obviously, it was always a problem, right? And the whole fake news thing, look, we all use it very differently. The left, when we say fake news, we actually mean news that was created by non-existent propaganda sites to masquerade as news to be shared on the internet in 2016 more widely than actual legitimate news. But when Trump uses it, we know what he's saying. He's saying news I don't like. But the attack, the smear against legitimate journalism, look, we're seeing the consequences of it. We're seeing what happens when you jeer CNN reporters at your rallies, and Trump basks in it, cheers it on. His sons retweet videos of that happening. For us to now be seeing the consequences of that kind of hostility to the media and others, and then the day after, not only have him double down on attacking the media, but then call a story that is well reported, sourced from multiple sources, like you have to believe Trump, who says it's a lie, you have to believe not only that the reporters didn't actually do the work, and these are award-winning, credible, serious reporters. You have to believe that the American intelligence operatives who they're citing are liars.
Right.
Not to mention the foreign officials. You have to believe basically 50 liars, or I don't know, that Donald Trump maybe is just saying something isn't fake because it embarrasses him.
Yeah.
And in the process continues to degrade, smear, and threaten the media.
The Times has to come out and fight back against what the president of the United States says. That hey, our well-sourced story is, in fact, we're standing by it. It's just I say weird a lot, but because it is weird. It's weird. We're in a weird space. This is not
really weird.
Normal. Yeah. Also, this picture of Trump in the Drake jacket is doing a lot.
Yeah,
for
we
me
did a good job with that.
But also in his kind of statement where he says, I don't have time to defute this, and then I'm gonna defute it and tell you why. But also, glad you mentioned China. And I'm they're so, okay.
Right. How did that, thank you.
He basically said, I like what you did there, but it's not, he can do that.
It's you got part of it right by adding China.
Why don't we bring up that last graphic, the tweet?
Yeah, can we change this too?
Well, we'll see about that. The New York Times has a new fake story that now the Russians and Chinese, glad they finally added China, are listening to all of my calls on cell phones, except that I rarely use a cell phone. And when I do, it's government authorized. I like hard lines, just more made of fake news. Are you going to acknowledge the irony?
I can't talk about the hard lines comment. I have to tell you, and I'm not like the most well-connected person to the Trump White House, I will say that right here, but I know people who talk about like regularly talking to Trump on his cell phone. Like it's not, this isn't.
He talks to Sean Hannity all the time.
This isn't like I mean, I'm not naming names, but I'm just saying like as far as I know, and I think he's splitting hairs in that I assume when he's like talking to, conducting official business, he's doing it, on a hard line. I don't really want to think about Trump and his hard lines, but
I don't either.
But if we haven't learned anything about this guy since he threw his hat in the ring, it's his, complete off the cuff, like he'll be doing a press conference about one thing and he'll talk about something else, and right? So you know when he's talking on those phones late at night in his residence, when he's watching television, he's calling up all of his friends and he's talking about things that he shouldn't be talking about on an unsecure line.
So the irony I wanted to mention was that some of his refutations of him using cell phones, the tweets were identified on Twitter as being sent from his iPhone. So he was on his cell phones as he was saying that he never has time for his cell phones, but we understand how this goes. He says all the time that he doesn't watch TV. He tweets constantly about TV. I know, it's weird. And look, if this seems like, well, why are you guys focusing on this? It's just his phone.
Yeah, it's weird.
They talk about, they're talking about trade policy. China's listening in because they want to understand what their position should be in this ongoing trade war that we have. If he's talking about foreign policy, military intervention, terrorism, and things like that, that is important. So substantively, it's important. But also, look, I don't understand all of how you hack into phones or what access you have to, but these sources are saying that if they have access to his cell phone calls, it is possible that they could have access to the microphone generally on his phone, even the camera on his phone. They might see him during these late night phone calls with Sean Hannity and various other people and things like that.
Or when he's not on calls. I mean, in theory, that's how that technology can work. You can actually,
Yeah.
Again, he knows this because he explained to us in detail why you shouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton because of this.
Yeah.
I know, I'm old fashioned that I have a problem with hypocrisy.
Right.
And it just, apparently Donald Trump does not.
That's what works,
No, and he's been warned. His aides who have, one of the reasons possibly that they were willing to talk with the New York Times is they hope that maybe this will put pressure on him if it comes out, because they say that they have told him multiple times he needs to use one of the secure phones and he refuses to.
They're part of the silent resistance.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So again, this security breach that we have, which I believe is unprecedented, is due to him not being willing to simply pick up one cell phone rather than another.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.